Salamat pagi. Did I say it correctly? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. While they are still working on connecting my computer to the system, I would also like to add something to the introduction. I am currently the Dean of the College of Development Communication of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and I am really so happy about this opportunity to be talking with you about development communication, a concept which we would like to believe has originated from the Los Baños experience, at least this School of Development Communication. I am also acknowledging the help of my colleague, Professor Aleta Villanueva from the University of the Philippines Open University, one of the participants also in this conference. Okay. So my task today is to discuss with you, to bring you down memory lane, because I am discussing a historical perspective of communication and development. So, standing before this distinguished group of communication academics and practitioners today, I take pride in representing one of the schools of thought in communication for development, the Los Baños tradition of development communication. Communication scholar Linje Patrick Manyoso, you might have come across many of his writings, categorized these schools of thought into 6: Bretton Woods, Latin American, Indian, African, Los Baños, and the communication for development and social change. This is how I propose to discuss the matter with you this morning. For the first part of this presentation, I will briefly introduce the various schools of thought as Manyoso described them in his article, Communication for Development, a Historical Perspective, published by UNESCO in 2007. Then I will focus on the Los Baños tradition, through which I will try to make the study and practice of development communication come alive for you. I will share with you the development communication curriculum, as well as examples of research and extension activities at the College of Development Communication. In conclusion, allow me to describe who the development communicator or the development communication practitioner of the 21st century should be. So here are the schools of thought briefly. Manyoso's extensive discourse on the historical development of the field of communication for development is remarkable in that it paid critical attention to both Western and non-Western theoretical developments and experiments. The Bretton Woods School, the concept of this school of communication for development can be described as rooted in post-World War II strategies that looked at development as an international ideology for achieving hegemony. Hegemony is, of course, a concept associated with domination, control, supremacy, power. You might remember one of the authors described by Dr. Coley before, Erskine Childers. He's one who really brought into the teaching of DevCom the concept of rooting communication into the development process, post-war reconstruction process. It is also interesting to note that one of the school's major publications was titled Development Communication Report, published by the USAID-funded Clearinghouse on Development Communication. So as early as post-World War II, development communication was already being discussed. And this was under the Academy for Educational Development, or AED. The Bretton Woods School was composed of such institutions as the World Bank, UNESCO, FAO, Rockefeller Foundation, Department for International Development, or DFID of the United Kingdom, Ford Foundation, and universities like Michigan State, Texas, Cornell, Ohio, Wisconsin, Leeds, Columbia, Iowa, Southern California, and New Mexico. The Latin American school had radio as the main medium that started it all, with Radio Sutatenza established in 1947 in Colombia by a Roman Catholic priest. Radio Sutatenza pioneered the practice of las escuelas radiofónicas, or radio schools. Bolivia's Radios Mineras, or miners' radio stations, followed in 1949. It started out as a lone station in 1949, which has grown to 26 radio stations by the 1970s. Gumucio attributed the success to the fact that the radio stations were, and I quote, planned and conceived by the miners, hence were independent, self-sustained, self-managed, and faithfully served the interests of their communities. More importantly, the Latin American school espoused communication approaches that provided the blueprint for participatory, community-oriented media that in turn afforded peasants and ordinary people the opportunity to be full and equal participants in development and the maintenance of just, equitable, and democratic societies. So we are seeing in there the beginnings of communication being instrumental in emancipation and the Freirean concepts. The Indian school, communication for development experiments, began in India in the 1950s through listening communities that had been established in rural India to listen to broadcasts in 3 Indian languages. Again, radio was the starter medium. Expansion of the Indian school happened in the 1970s with the introduction of 2 rural television for development projects by the government. Television sets were installed in village schools, and the programs were received directly from locally installed satellite receivers. Our Village Chatera, a column about village life, was published regularly in the Hindustan Times. Verghese described this experiment in development journalism in 1976 as an activity that made reporters extension workers, change agents, and public relations officers who were able to serve as catalysts, planting new ideas in the villagers' minds and articulating their aspirations. Notable among India's communication for development efforts was its integration into the country's first 5-year plan, anchored on the philosophy that a widespread understanding of development priorities enables citizens to embrace a country's vision of the future. The African School. Rural radio and theater were the main approaches for the African School of Communication for Development beginning in the 1960s. From being a farm broadcasting medium with state broadcasters reaching out to largely rural audiences, radio has evolved into the concept of local rural stations concerned with such issues related to democratization, proximity, local circumstances, and community participation in defining content and management. The idea of a local radio station that belongs to the people has come of age. Theater for Development, on the other hand, makes the employment of performance theater a communication process, making theater both a discourse and a forum through which local people critically analyze development issues, linking effects to causes, thereby attaining mental liberation or conscientization in the Freirean praxis. Mañoso discussed the Los Baños School after this, but let me reserve that for last. Instead, I will discuss the CFD and SC School first, Communication for Development and Social Change. Central to the work of the Communication for Development and Social Change School is participation in which the media are just tools. Participatory Development Communication, or PDC, as a communication tool with which to facilitate community involvement in local development was demonstrated by the collaborative project Isang Bagsak. Isang Bagsak literally means it's like this. Let me just demonstrate. I don't know how to translate it into English, but it's something that connotes strong endorsement, something like that. This was initiated by Dr. Guy Bisset, who was then with the International Development Research Center of Canada, and that was in 2004. It brought together research and development institutions from Latin America, Southeast Asia, Africa, and Canada that used PDC in community-based natural resource management initiatives. The College of Development Communication was an active partner in this project. And one of the main media, one of the main means through which this project was carried out was an interactive learning platform via ICTs. The CFD and SC School emphasized institutional collaboration involving development research and training organizations from the 5 schools of thought that I have discussed. However, to quote Manyozo, this collaboration has not been smooth, as there seems to be some disagreement on issues of social change, communication process, and appropriate theory between and among the various academic and development institutions. Let me leave it at that and go into the Los Baños School. The practice of development communication in the Philippines formally began way back in the early 1950s, when a group of visionaries noted that the then College of Agriculture of the University of the Philippines was turning out significant research results that had tremendous impact on the lives of farmers and fisher folk. However, these research results were not being communicated adequately to the rightful beneficiaries. This group was composed of such names that you might have read about: Dr. Nora Quebral, Dr. Juan Jamias, Dr. Tomas Flores, and a few others I did not have the pleasure of meeting. Under the Office of Extension and Publications established in 1954 by the College of Agriculture, the group spearheaded the setting up of a publications and radio service through a publication and a community radio station service. This became the forerunners of the community newspaper Sandiwa, literally means one thought, and Radio DZLB, which is still operational to this date. We just have to rehabilitate our aging tower and in the process contend with cumbersome government rules on procurement. But we will get there. I'm going to show you some photos of how Dr. Nora Quebral started it all in the 1950s. You will see her there sitting on the fence and talking with scientists. Next slides, please. And farmers alike. Next slide. Okay. It was Dr. Nora Quebral who first articulated the concept of development communication when she defined it in 1971 as the art and science of human communication applied to the speedy transformation of a country and the mass of its people from poverty to a dynamic state of economic growth that makes possible greater social equality and the larger fulfillment of the human potential. That was in 1971. More than 4 decades later, Dr. Quebral herself revised the definition of development communication as the science of human communication linked to the transitioning of communities from poverty in all its forms to a dynamic overall growth that fosters equity and the unfolding of individual potential. Such definition, she explains, is the product of a great deal more study, experience, and thought. She says it is less ambitious, it is more practical, it is more apt to the times, because the very first one was so ambitious. The powerhouse term that is development communication is a confluence of two dynamic processes, development and communication. Development could be regarded as the weightier one, it being the progressive improvement of the quality of life that needs to happen. But communication is the vehicle that carries development forward. That's Dr. Cabral talking. As she viewed it, development communication can be a course or a major in a curriculum or the name of an entire college, but it is also a form of communication practice. Development communication teaching started out under the Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. There was only two colleges actually in the 1950s in the University of the Philippines system, the College of Agriculture and the College of Forestry. So we had agricultural beginnings. So in the 1960s, the Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, major in agricultural communication was instituted. 5 years later, the Master of Science in Agricultural Communication was offered. The undergraduate degree program distinctly became the Bachelor of Science in Development Communication, or BSDC, in 1974, and this was after Dr. Nora Cabral has put forward her definition of development communication. The 4-year BSDC curriculum is considered unique from other communication programs in that it is science-based. Like other communication curricula, the BSDC curriculum offers general education courses, 45 units or 15 courses, foundation courses, 12 units or 4 courses, and specialized courses, 24 units. The required foundation courses are economics, mathematics, computer science, and statistics. Statistics is one course that makes many of our students cry. But then, it is a science-based curriculum, and they are required to do research, so statistics has remained in the curriculum. Unlike other communication curricula, however, BSDC affords the student an appreciation of both the context of development through its social science electives and the subject matter content that needs to be communicated to the various stakeholders through its technical courses. Students may choose technical courses from such fields as agriculture, forestry, environment, biology, biotechnology, nutrition, to mention a few. On the communication side, students chose to hone their skills in one of 4 areas of specialization: development journalism, community broadcasting, educational communication, or science communication. The first 3 are media-based specializations for print, broadcast, and audiovisual channels. Science communication, instituted only in the 1980s, was more concept-based in that it developed student skills in communicating scientific and technical information using any or combinations of the available media, including ICTs. A closer look at the courses offered, however, reveals that these courses have benefited largely from the outstanding contributions of the various schools of communication for development. Students using the participatory development communication approaches work with various stakeholders in communities to produce their communication outputs. Their articles for the community newspaper, their schools on the air, and their learning systems designs are based on problems identified by the communities themselves. Our students go out and mingle with the community folk and try to help them through their communication projects. However, research conducted over the years highlighted the fact that the four major fields of specialization tended to be media-based rather than process-oriented. Taking courses under one major narrowed down the competency base of DevCom graduates. However, for example, those who major in development journalism take writing courses, and they are not so well-versed in broadcasting courses, for instance. In this day and age, when news and information are being managed through multiple platforms, like print and online versions of newspapers, teleradio or television radio programs, community cable TV programs, the social media, for example, students should be able to cope with the demands of as many available channels of communication as possible. In addition, a study among employers and alumni revealed that they expected DevCom graduates to be equipped with general development communication competencies. These graduates should be well-rounded professionals who are equipped with the knowledge and skills in various communication approaches, integrating both traditional and new media, including information and communication technologies. 2, they can think critically. And 3, they are research-oriented development communicators. The next slide represents the different competencies that our graduates should be developing. And so, guided by these new developments, the college has been working steadily these past 2 years on the revision of the BSDC curriculum to make it even more relevant to the challenges of the 21st century. This new curriculum is outcome-based, and it adheres all the more to the salient features of engaged learning. Students no longer have to choose courses from one of the 4 majors. You remember the 4 majors that I have mentioned: development journalism, community broadcasting, educational communication, science communication. Instead, they take courses under the following domains: reportage, media-based learning systems, multimedia design, production and management and communication of scientific and technical information. These are the answers of the college to the outcome-based curriculum challenge. What should our graduates be able to do upon exiting the academe? Competency in the above-mentioned domains is envisioned to bolster CDC's efforts to achieve its vision, thus, to be a globally relevant academic institution proactively promoting sustainable development using communication as a process for attaining empowerment and equity in the pursuit of distinctive excellence in food, agriculture, biotechnology, and environment. The latter is the one that roots us with the vision of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, to which we belong. Just to give you an example of how we carry out this new curriculum, 8 generalist courses taken by all DevCom students replace the courses under major areas of specialization. These are writing and reporting for development, participatory development journalism, multimedia materials planning and design, multimedia materials production and management, media-based learning systems, distance learning systems in development communication practice, managing information for development, and communicating science for development. Let me repeat, all students go through all of these courses under the new BSDC curriculum. The past 2 years have also witnessed a dramatic revision in CDC's postgraduate programs. Competencies have been clearly delineated to conform with the outcome-based characterization of 21st century education. The Master of Science in Development Communication is designed to produce graduates who are able to compare and contrast theories, schools of thought, principles, and strategies of communication in the context of development. So you will notice that the skills are in the bachelor's degree program, while the higher thinking about theory and management are in the postgraduate courses. Master of Science students should also be able to analyze issues and challenges in development that may be addressed by education and training in development communication, conduct research and evaluation in development communication, and apply DevCom concepts and skills in the design and management of systems, programs, and projects in development. And so these competencies are embodied in the following courses: Communication Theory in Development Communication, Communication and Development, Communication Approaches in Development Programs, Environmental Communication, Communication and Culture, Educational Communication Systems, Educational Systems Management, Information and Communication Technologies for Development, Development Communication Research, and the Special Problems, Special Topics, Graduate Seminar, and Master's Thesis. I'd like to call your attention to the fact that at the master's level, they also take a minimum of 3 courses of cognates in technical fields. This is knowing how to communicate and what to communicate. The PhD in Development Communication is designed to produce graduates who are able to explain the process of theory construction. So now this is on a higher level. Theory construction and critiquing towards theory formulation in development communication. Analyze the research and research management process in DevCom programs. Conduct DevCom research. Examine issues and challenges towards setting directions in DevCom education and practice, and formulate DevCom policies for development programs. So on the theory construction and policy development level. These competencies are embodied in such courses as Theorizing in Development Communication, Organizational Communication and Leadership in Development, Communication Systems, Policies and Planning, Public Communication of Science, Qualitative Approaches to Communication Research, Theory Construction, which is taken in another college, and the usual Special Problems, Special Topics, Graduate Seminar, Doctoral Dissertation, and the cognate in technical fields. So I hope that this information will also be useful to you in looking at your very own masteral and PhD programs. In more than 5 decades, CDC has grown from a mere service unit in the sense that at the time of the Office of Extension and Publications, the sole function, one of the ready functions of the unit was to write for research manuals, to produce scripts for radio, to develop posters. So it was called a service unit. And it has grown from that into the sole academic institution in the world that offers Bachelor of Science, Master of Science, and Doctor of Philosophy programs in development communication. CDC also collaborates with the University of the Philippines Open University in developing DevCom programs offered via distance learning. The first program offered in early 2000 was the Master of Professional Studies in Development Communication. This was meant for media practitioners who could not really spare that much time in attending regular classes. This program has evolved over the years, and to date, the Faculty of Information and Communication Studies of the Open University offers the Doctor of Communication, Master of Development Communication, and Bachelor of Arts in Multimedia Studies. The college has been recognized by the Philippines Commission on Higher Education as its lone center of excellence in development communication for 2012 to 2015. That means that we should be helping other state colleges and universities develop their own development communication curricula at the various levels. A large part of our strength as an academic institution also lies in our research and extension involvements with various community-based programs carried out in partnership with international and national government and non-government organizations. Our recent research and extension undertakings include the continuing Radio DZLB, community radio station that we manage alongside cooperators from within and outside the university. They maintain programs in DZLB. Dito sa Laguna, a discussion program aired via the Community Cable Vision Corporation. So we have a television program, and we invite stakeholders from various organizations and various concerns to talk about their respective development programs. The Los Baños Times, a community newspaper that serves Los Baños and nearby communities, it is also an online platform of a community newspaper. Adopt a School program, where we design facilitative and interactive learning materials and conduct information, education, and communication activities in public elementary schools. And this is one of our ongoing programs, strengthening local nutrition and education programs through communication for behavior change and community empowerment initiatives. It is a partnership with UNICEF and 3 local government units in 2 provinces south of Manila, Masbate and the province of Northern Samar, which also became a victim of Typhoon Haiyan or Typhoon Yolanda. So we go down to the community, we facilitate community discussions, we help them identify their problems, and when I get back, we are going to facilitate a communication planning workshop so that they will be able to do and carry out and evaluate their own plans. All of these activities are contributing to one of our major undertakings today, and this is to develop the community communication track of the College of Development Communication. So we hope that everything that we will learn from here will also be useful to this undertaking. Let me now end by trying to discuss with you who the development communication practitioner of the 21st century should be. In here, I wish to quote Dr. Nora Quebral again. She says, "There is no one profession whose members are known as development communicators. Any communication practitioner who helps disadvantaged people better their lives so that they can realize their potential is a development communicator." End of quote. But it won't hurt if we describe the attributes, the values and skills that a development communication practitioner in the 21st century possesses. He or she is working in an environment that is getting to be increasingly complex, challenging, and demanding. Several cross-cultural studies involving various sectors, including employers, reveal work readiness credentials expected among this generation's graduates. These are communication skills, speak so others can understand, listen actively, read with understanding, observe critically. Interpersonal skills, cooperate with others, resolve conflict, and negotiate. Decision-making skills, solve problems and make decisions, use mathematics to solve problems and communicate. And 4, lifelong learning skills. Take responsibility for learning, use information and communication technology. Synthesizing the above competencies, work readiness credentials, and values, this paper puts forward the following set of characteristics for the development communication practitioner of the 21st century. He or she, 1, understands the process of development, the process of communication, and the environment in which the two processes interact. 2, is not only knowledgeable in communication skills and techniques, but is also proficient in the subject matter to be communicated. 3, has commendable media, information literacy, and information and communication technology skills to wade through the mountain of information towards, in turn, helping people make informed decisions. 4, practices critical thinking, problem-solving, and decision-making skills applied in community engagement among other tasks. 5, possesses collaboration and networking skills to bring together stakeholder groups engaged in development issue, and has a sense of commitment, the acceptance of individual responsibility for serving communities and advancing human development. And the last one, practices engaged learning to the fullest. Thank you and good day.